Every now and then I'll get somebody that emails me out of concern when they realize where I live, or they'll comment. I haven't got many of these in a long time, but like some people will be like, well, aren't you worried about the super volcano? Or aren't you worried about the massive, like 300-year earthquake that's supposed to hit Washington state? Well, here's the deal. And a lot of times it's like some people just really think I should up and move because I should be afraid of all these things around us. I mean, there's Mount St. Helens, there's Mount Rainier, and apparently both of those have been showing a little bit of action these days. I haven't been paying that close of attention to it. But here's the deal. No matter where you live, there's always going to be some big, massive thing that you're going to have to be afraid of. No matter where you move, we can move from here and end up living in tornado country or living in another place that's highly prone to earthquakes or live next to a different volcano. We don't live next to Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens, but they're not super far from us. My sister lives pretty close to Mount Rainier, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't affect us if one of those blew. Because even when I was living in Wenatchee and Mount St. Helens blew, and I would say Mount St. Helens is probably, I know it's got to be a very minimum of a couple hundred miles away from Wenatchee where I grew up. And yet within a few hours of the mountain blowing, we had some pretty thick ash falling on us. So I would say we live probably about the same distance on the where we are now in Washington, here in Forks, even though Wenatchee's central Washington and Forks is way over western Washington on the peninsula. We're probably about the same distance from Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens as we were on the other side. But yes, our area, they've been predicting for a long time that we're expecting this massive we're overdue for a massive earthquake here, and it could happen at any time. And we've had some minor earthquakes that really did nothing but rattle a little bit of stuff, cause some lights to swing or whatever. I've never felt any of them. Other people are like, you felt that? No. Maybe it's because I'm always on the move. I don't know. But anyway, there was a lady that emailed me, and I appreciate her concern. And I think she just felt she needed to let me know because she knows somebody who had a prophetic dream or something like that God was going to judge and destroy Seattle, something like that. And they thought I'd let me know. Well, as far as being, a Christian, and believing in the Bible, there's really no escaping other than death. There's no escaping what's going to come. We know what the Bible says, but we also know who wins. All right. We also know that death is 1 in 1. That's the death ratio. 100%. Whether it be now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, I don't know. We all have a number. We all have a ticket. And when that time is up, it's up. And I have enough faith that when it's my time to go, it'll be my time, and I'm trusting God with that. If I believe also in being as prepared as possible for everything, as possible. And it doesn't matter where you live. There's no completely escaping something that could happen to you. Maybe it's going to be another tsunami for some people. Anything. It doesn't matter where in the world you live. You could live your life absolutely in fear of what may happen. Or you can do the best you can to put up for hard times and then just live your life. Okay? Even if you're not a believer. Okay? I don't want my messages to ever be like, well, only if you're a Christian. I mean, this message should be for everyone. Focus on the good things in your life. Do the best you can to prepare. I know me. I think for a lot of us women, as part of just being a woman, we worry about everything. I think men do too, but they worry about different everythings. I know as a mother and a grandma, you think, when you're young, you have kids, and when they move out, you can stop worrying about them. As you ladies watching me now know, who have kids and grandbabies, you don't. It never stops. You never stop worrying about your kids. And then you have the grandbabies. You never stop worrying about your grandbabies. You never stop worrying about your spouse. You never stop worrying about how you're going to get all your chores done today. We always have enough on our plate to worry about that we really shouldn't, especially if we're believer. We know we're not supposed to live in fear and worry. We're supposed to keep giving it to God every day. And I have to do this like every single day because I'm always worried about my children. Doesn't matter how good they're doing. It's part of being a mom. And why do I want to add more worry on top of all that about things that may or may not happen? Do I want to do the best I can to be prepared in the event this happens? Sure. Doesn't mean we'll make it out alive, though. Doesn't mean that everything that we've worked so hard to put up can't be gone just like that. And that's the reality of it. But I also know I have this peace of mind that at least I can get through more minor events. I can get through power outages. I can get through maybe a storm that prevents the grocery trucks from coming into our very small, very, very remote town. Some people seem to forget we're very remote. We don't have certain stores that everybody else has, just, a hop, skip, and a jump away. And we've been an island before, and we could become an island again. I know that I'm prepared for things like that. But if I was to add all that worry and stress and fear on to me, then the thing everybody else should be worried about is that I'm going to worry myself into an early grave or become very, very sick from all the worry. You can worry yourself to death quite literally, and it's not worth it because you don't know what's going to happen. And even if you did, you might not be able to change a thing. So do the best you can to be responsible, to be prudent with the blessings God has given you, to plan and to put up what you can. Don't feel like you got to be like everybody else. Don't feel like you got to be like us or like Tyler or Deb or Linda or anyone else. Do what you can. Do what works for you and the best you can. And take assurance in the fact that you're making the most out of what you have and what you can. And then again, if you are a believer, you know where you can put your trust. And if you're not a believer, find joy in what you have done. Find that assurance in what you have done and then live your life to the fullest. Enjoy your children, enjoy your grandchildren, enjoy your garden and your chickens and whatever it is that you have. And obviously, as a Christian, I would say, you can always fall back. You can always come to God and He's there for you. And there's another place where you can have, or the best place where you can find peace and joy. But I don't want to scare people away either. But I got to get that message out there. If I didn't have my faith, I have my husband, he's very strong. I really appreciate him. But what if he was taken away? And if I didn't have my faith, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what would happen to me without that. So I know it offends some people when I talk about my faith, but it is an incredibly important part of who I am. And if I can't get any other message out there, I want everyone else to be able to come to and find that same peace and love and joy that they can also have. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get preachy or not trying to push my faith on anyone, but I would be wrong to not share that because it's a fire burning in my soul. It's got to get out. So anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to get all emotional and weepy. But it's that week, right? Some people call it Passion Week. Some people call it Feast of Unleavened Bread. Some people call it Passover Week. And so obviously it's right there. It's right there. Thinking of that precious gift of salvation that we have. And so I can't shut that up. I just want everyone, regardless of where you are in life, regardless of what you believe, I want everyone to realize that living your life in fear it's not the way to be prepared. Maybe fear can be a good motivator when you see what's happening in the world to get you on the right track, but don't live your life in fear. Just move forward doing the best you can with whatever strengths and abilities and skills that you have. But Tyler say, I won't push my faith on anyone, but if you don't have any, you're welcome to use mine.